Keith, nice to see you. Welcome, everyone. I'll wait just a couple of seconds as everybody else is joining the room. Glad you decided to spend your lunch break with us today. What we hope out of this session is that it takes a little mystery out of the application process. You get an idea of what to expect, and you're going to meet some current class members and grads in today's session. So I will start by introducing myself. I'm Tammy Miller. I'm the Leadership Development Director of the Chamber, and Leadership Greenville is our flagship program. We have several programs in our portfolio: Opportunity Greenville, our young professionals, and a host of others. I invite you to check those out on the website. And again, let me know if you have any questions about those. But today we're talking about Leadership Greenville. And I want you to know this, the little blurb I've got here is to let you know exactly what our purpose is. It's designed to help informed, committed, and qualified leaders for Greenville County. And by taking an intensive look at the issues affecting Greenville County, and that's the challenges, the opportunities, and all the great things that are happening. We want to educate, equip, and empower everyone who goes through Leadership Greenville to create positive and meaningful impact in our community. And I cannot go any further without giving a big shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bon Secours, who has been a very loyal sponsor for us. So we're excited to have them with us today. Now, this is what we're going to do in the next few minutes. You're going to meet a few LG alums and class members who will both share a little bit, but also be available at the end to answer some questions from a graduate or class member perspective. I'm going to share a little bit about the overall Leadership Greenville experience, a little bit about the application and selection process, kind of demystify that. And again, we'll have some Q&A at the end. And again, this is very informal, conversational. So, when, if you have a question along the way, drop it in the chat and we will be able to unmute yourselves and join us with questions at the end. All right. Okay, why Leadership Greenville? What I usually find out is people come to Leadership Greenville for a host of reasons. They want professional development. They know that this has been over 40 years old. We're in our 47th class, so we've got a long legacy of building community leaders. They want to build relationships with other class members and community leaders. That they know this is a great way to expand your network. You're exactly right. You want to find your place in the community. You know that you are called to do something more, so you want to find that out. Or your boss told you to apply and you may or may not have any idea of what Leadership Greenville really is. So what I hope to do is again, share a little bit of that so that you can confirm that this is a great fit for you. But before we get further, I want to introduce you to several friends of mine. Dean Ong from Leadership Greenville Class 43, Emerald Clark from Leadership Greenville 46, the class who just graduated, and Clintonette Garrison, who is in our current class. So Dean, share with our folks here today. Tell me about your experience and what you would like them to know as a graduate.
Yeah, so my name is Dean. Glad to see so many people interested in Leadership Greenville. My biggest thing about Leadership Greenville is the fact that it really gives you a deep dive on what's going on with the city and the surrounding communities. You really get a good, you kind of have an understanding of what happens and how government works and how, how everything, kind of works in tandem. But with Leadership Greenville, it really gives you a chance to really focus on certain aspects and really dive into certain things that you find interesting. Of course, my experience wasn't during a pandemic, so that's probably going to be your, biggest question. But my biggest takeaway is, the amount of time it takes and the effort that it takes, you're going to get it paid back to you tenfold. So if you can put more time into it, fantastic. But there's a lot of people that can't, and I totally understand. But the more you put in, the more you'll get out. That's all I can say. And I'll let the other two talk because I think they're probably a little bit more important during this pandemic going on. So.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. And I will ask you something before we move on. Dean, since you graduated, what about the relationships you made with your class members at the time moving forward?
Yeah,
Did y'all graduate and split up, or do you still?
No, you'll definitely, of course, my class, we had like 60 people. You won't be best friends with 60 people, but you will definitely meet like long-term friends that you want to stay in touch with, and you want to stay in a part of their lives, and they'll want to stay a part of your lives. So that is a great thing. I just had lunch with an LG classmate last week, Thursday. We're making plans to meet up during March Madness. So, so that type of stuff. So
that's great. Thank you. Emerald.
Good morning. Hey, everyone. Tammy, thank you for having me. Welcome, I guess, potential Leadership Greenville individuals. Leadership Greenville during a pandemic was a little bit different. I think you're going to hear from somebody who's going to speak to it throughout the entire pandemic. We experienced it at the very end. We almost, Tammy, we came so close to finishing it. Yeah. We did our final, our closing retreat as a virtual session. For me, I thought it was great for so many reasons. One, I got to see it, what it looks like and operates and function in a normal environment. And then I got to look at how we can all pivot and how we can all be a little more flexible and resilient and how we all handled it. Leadership Greenville, I think, teaches you all of those things. If you already have them, it continues to build on them. It shows you how you can be an effective leader in your community, whether that's through in your current role, if it's through civic engagement, political engagement, whatever those areas may be that you want to focus on. I think Leadership Greenville just helps to build that leverage. To kind of speak to something that Dean said, the friends that you make. I was also in a big class. We had about 60 people. And no, I'm not going to hang out with all 60 of those people, even though I want to, because they're all amazing in their own right. I know that I can pick up the phone or send an email or reach out to any of them. And I have done, and I've had plenty of them reach out to me since we've completed Leadership Greenville class of 46. But it's a network, and it's not just a business network. It's not just a professional network, but it becomes this type of family that I know that I can call on any of them or even reach out to other Leadership Greenville classes because of the thread that Tammy kind of weaves. This is about connectedness. This is about collaboration. And so those are some of the biggest things for me that I learned and that I enjoy and that I still take away from Leadership Greenville every day.
Thank you, Emerald.
Absolutely.
Clintonette, share with us, you're in our current class.
I am in the current class. And, good afternoon, everyone. And I applaud you for even showing your interest. You will not be disappointed. Navigating Leadership Greenville in a pandemic shows our tenacity, shows how we can come together as one body of people and still make Greenville work. It has expanded the knowledge for me and will expand the knowledge for you about Greenville, the future of Greenville. Tammy has probably worked through every CDC guideline that has come out, and we have pivoted more than once, if once, 100 times. But I will tell you, it did not minimize the experience at all. Those of you who will be coming in, you will come in kind of still in this pandemic, but as the world starts to open up. So you'll get to have what Emerald had at the end and what I had, and then you'll go back to what we've all had when it was a wide open LG class. So I would say that it did not minimize the experience at all. Though the class section size is smaller, it was still a great way for us to expand our knowledge, our network, and be very intentional about being successful during this very trying time. I find it still to be very enriching and very nurturing to me, even though you work from home, you don't think you can get out. We've done virtual sessions. We've done some sessions that, of course, social distance CDC guideline related, but they were very fulfilling sessions. I have not yet left the session to where my survey did not expand on how wonderful the experience has been for me. And it continues to be. So again, I applaud you for even having the interest in such an amazing event. You will get to network, you will get to expand your knowledge, but please stand in your truth and tell your story, because Leadership Greenville allows you to be seen as a person. And that's what I have liked about it. And so you will embrace the ebbs and flows and the challenges of the pandemic, but it is going to be so well worth your time. So I really appreciate my experience, and I think you're going to appreciate it much more, because Tammy has it down to a science now. She works CDC like a pro.
Thank you, Clintonette. And I appreciate all of you for saying a few words, because it's one thing for me to give an overview, but it's also, for you to share it. And just transparency, they were not compensated for their appearances. They were invited to share. But one thing I've been with the chamber for almost, 13 years. And I've been working with these programs for about 10 years. So I've had the sheer honor and pleasure of being with all of these three in their classes. And I think it is truly, it's kind of, I said it just casually one day, but it's really become, sort of a subtle little mantra. We do life together in Leadership Greenville. We handle issues. We have job promotions, we have job losses, we have babies arrive, we lose family members, everything in between. And again, we also react to what's going on in our community and nation. In Emerald and Clintonette's classes, we were not only going through a pandemic, but there was the rising awareness and efforts on racial injustice and everything in between. And just Leadership Greenville having a place to land those thoughts. And I love what you said, Clintonette. The Leadership Greenville class and alumni at large are a network, a unified force, if you will, but it also recognizes the individuality of every member in it. So let's move on. They're not going anywhere. So let me just give you an idea about the experience. We begin with an orientation. I have not set the date, but it'll be in August sometime before our mid-September class date. So orientation, my guess right now, it may be virtual. And what I will do is a session kind of like this. We just kind of go over what to expect, what you need from the retreat. I need your headshots, that kind of a little information session. Then our opening retreat is a 2-day retreat. It's not an overnight right now, but it will be every element that Dean had in LG 43 and that Clintonette and Emerald all had, the same dynamics, because there's certain legacy elements that need to be part of Leadership Greenville, so that whether you're in class 20 or class 50, you will have some of the same elements. Our class days are generally the first Wednesdays of the month. If a holiday, hits it, like Easter or New Year's Day, we pivot to the next week, but generally you can count on the first Wednesdays. And by the way, in the application, when you click on the link, you will see the class days listed there. You will also take part in community service projects. Again, we don't, a lot of times we've done 3, we may do 2. I'm not sure, just kind of depending on what the community environment is, but nonprofit organizations submit project proposals for the class to consider. And your class is broken into teams, and you list some organizations that you would like to work with based on those proposals, and then we assign them from there. We end with an ending retreat, and I forgot to look at the date. When we go through the application, I look at it, but it's late April, early May, that ending retreat, and then we graduate. So let's look first at the application. It is on the chamber website. It is due April the 12th. So let's go to our application, and with any hope, it's going to appear on the screen. Yes, I love it when it works. This just goes over a little bit about when the application is due. This is the actual application. The selection committee is made up of Leadership Greenville alumni and chamber senior staff.
Tammy,
It tells you what.
I think you have to share the.
Oh, did I not share that?
Yep,
Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can share that as well. You share. Here we go. Thank you for that. Let's see. Let's see if this is it. I've got a couple of things up. Let's see if this one's. Can you see it, Dean?
That's it.
Okay. Does it has got April 12th, 2021 in the red? Okay,
Yep.
good. Just want to make sure I had the right thing up. So we tell you what we're looking to, the selection committee looks at. There's a scoring matrix. We're looking at diversity in every sense of the word: age, background, race, gender, perspective, life experiences. We don't want a class made up of everybody who thinks the same way or looks the same way or has every background. We're going to have a reduced class size again this year. We're aiming at 40 class members. And the positives, if you will, in a pandemic is, you know, with Dean, it was great to have this body of 60 people working together. We just felt like for us to continue in person, we had to reduce that class size because we wanted to do that appropriate physical distancing. So with 40, you very likely will know all of your classmates to a greater degree. We also consider commitment to Leadership Greenville class requirements and the project team experience. Leadership Greenville is not for the faint of heart. It is a commitment, it is a 10-month commitment. Leadership potential, you know, and that can be shown a lot through your essays and things, what you're doing now, what your vision is for the future, and the civic involvement and commitment to Greenville and that community. You'll be notified by mid-July of your acceptance. And it just goes through some eligibility about it. It's got the tuition. There is partial tuition scholarships available on the application itself. And here you'll have a chance to say, yes, I would like to request a partial scholarship, and I will send you the proposal. I will see that come up. This goes on and explains a little bit about the time commitment, pretty much the first Wednesday of every month. And I've just put in class days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because our focus areas will be the same as they were 20 years ago, but we keep relevant to make sure we're creating the most relevant experience for you. So it's sometimes between now and September, I might combine 2 different focus areas together. That's why right now it only says that it's a class day. The one thing to star beside it, September 9th and 10th, that is the opening retreat. It is mandatory. If you cannot come to the opening retreat, that is a deal breaker. You have to commit to that. You have a no more than 2 class absence attendance policy. COVID absence do not apply if do not apply to that absence. If you are being tested, if you're quarantined, if you happen to have it, that absence does not count against you. But typically you have no more than 2 class absences. But again, the opening retreat is mandatory because of the information we cover there. Is just necessary that you're there. Then we get down into just the typical application, name, title, email addresses, how many years have you lived or worked in Greenville County. It's a place for you to list any other things you've done with the chamber. If you participated in Opportunity Greenville, that's not a requirement. We just like to know. It goes through some general demographic information. Got a chance to put down any awards, recognitions, certifications, anything like that. We also ask to let us know your community service. It doesn't have to be exactly 5 years, but go back about 5 to 7 years. You don't have to let us know what you did as an internship in college. Just let us know generally what you do. Now, if you're relatively new to the community, put what you did in your previous community. Now, the essay questions are really where you show your heart. We've got, I believe, 4 or 5. 5 essay questions. What's your motivation for being in the leadership class 48? What do you hope to gain? What life experience and perspectives do you bring to the class that would make you a unique participant? We recognize that there are several areas that are significant challenges. What do you feel are additional changes or opportunities? Or you might just say, hey, the one listed is really what I see as a big issue in Greenville or opportunity. Research shows that a diverse and inclusive group or workforce fosters creativity and innovation? How do you encourage people to, in your sphere of influence, to honor the uniqueness of individuals? And why are you a good candidate for the 48th Leadership Greenville class? There's not a boxed answer that we are looking for. We are looking for your heart, to set yourself apart. Don't answer the way you think we want you to answer. Share your heart in those essays. And there's a 500-word limit, so I want you to get to the point. Some of you will write, some of you are more brief in your explanations, others are dissertations. The 500-word limit helps us both get to the same place. The essays are where the meat of the selection process happens. So if you're a person of few words, make sure you're putting enough words that we understand what you're telling us. I will just let you know, 2 sentences is not a thorough answer. You really need to show your heart in this, in your understanding. Upload your resume. There's a letter of supervisor support that just pretty much says that your, supervisor, immediate power that be, says, yes, I know LG's commitment and I'm signing off on it. One letter of recommendation is required. You can upload it there. There's another place if you want to put another one in. There's not a plus or minus to that. It's just if you have another person you want to say something on your behalf, that is fine. We put supervisor who's responsible for paying. This is about the scholarship right here. And it says, are you interested in a partial scholarship? When your application comes through and I see yes, I will send you an application form for scholarship. That in no ways has anything to do with the selection process. The selection committee does not even know who applies for scholarships. That's just between you and me. So that in no way influences decision making. At the end of the application, I just go through and just pretty much some commitments. Hey, I understand that this information is the best of my knowledge. I understand that the opening retreat is mandatory. I understand I have to pay. You put your initials, and let's see where I am. And you're done. Let's stop there for just a moment and feel free to either put in the chat or unmute yourself. Are there any questions about the application itself? My advice to you is go in the application, grab the essay questions, work on them in a Word document, because you cannot start this application, leave it, and come back to it. So work on your essays, get them the way you want to, and then fill out your application and just cut and paste into the Word box. All right, let's see if we can get back to the PowerPoint. Are y'all seeing the PowerPoint? Or do I need to share it again?
Not yet.
Share it again.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. We seeing it?
Yep.
Got it. All right. Tuition is $4,000 for chamber investors, $5,000 for non-investors. There's a limited number of scholarships. As I said, you can request that via the application. The selection committee is made up of Leadership Greenville alumni and senior chamber leadership. They will go through an individual review, which means that every individual application will be reviewed by each individual selection committee member alone. They're just working on their own, and then they come together for a long meeting to collaboratively discuss the scores and make nominations for the class. Again, I just wanted to say the decisions are made on diversity, your commitment, the potential, and your civic involvement and commitment. We will notify you most likely by email, since there's still people working at home and in the office. I don't want a letter go into your office and you're not getting it. So we will notify by mid-July. Maybe earlier, but definitely by mid-July. This is a long process. So when you turn it in April, put your patient hat on, because to do this justice, this selection process justice, we really need to be thoughtful and give our selection committee time to individually review these to themselves and then have that opportunity to meet. So what does the last 48 and the pandemic look like? As Clintonette said, we've really navigated this thing, I think, well, and we've learned a lot. And I'm very proud to say we have met in person for every class day except for the Columbia road trip one. That was in February, just because of the pandemic and things that happened with regard to the nation's capital and security. That just was not going to be an in-person experience. But we did have the best of all speakers with us all day long. So again, virtual is last case scenario. If something happens, we're able to do that. So we're going to have a class of 40 following all the health safety protocols. And that means we check temperature at the door. You'll get issued a wonderful Leadership Greenville face mask. We have physical distancing, hand sanitizers, the whole bit. And we get larger venues so that we can accommodate that. Yeah, I've ordered a lot of things, Leadership Greenville logo in the past, but face masks were something new, actually with Emerald's class and with Clintonette. But you know what? We pivot and we respond to what's going on. In Dean's class, we carpool to classes. I can't make or assign people to ride together to class days. So the whole point of that was so you could meet smaller groups of people randomly. They change every month and have smaller group connections and conversations. We've achieved that by having conversation partners. So in both the end of Emerald's class and Clintonette's class, every month they're assigned 3 other people to connect with. It can be virtual, it can be in person, where they continue that relationship building. Now, future tours and experiences. Most everything we can do doesn't make a difference. There's a couple of workshops or tours we just can't do right now. We can't go to Perry Correctional to the prison to do a tour. It's not open right now. We could not go to the state capitol, but my plan, again, in a year, 18 months, whenever it is safe to do so, I'm going to do an all call back to Leadership Greenville, 46, 47, 48, and say, if you were not able to take part in the Perry tour, sign up here. So we're going to come back and get it. You won't miss it. We just have to delay it a little bit. But there's not many of those experiences that we cannot do. But what about the overnight retreat? Tammy, we've heard about the overnight retreat. My answer to that is it's just not safe to do so right now, nor is it the right message to send when we're just coming out of seeing some type of light in this pandemic. And we want to be responsible citizens for our community health. So what you do in those 2 days in the open retreat are identical to what every class has done for, at least 30 years. The only thing we don't do is spend the night. And it's not like going to a conference where you have a room to yourself and that would be safe. You have roommates. Think of college dorms and roommates and that wonderfully awkward relationship you build in a forced situation. That's just not safe to do so. So Leadership Greenville, the overnight makes for great stories, but it's not the Leadership Greenville experience. And that's what we're committed to. Now, time for questions. I know that my trio of graduates and alums have shared some information. If you've got a question for me or for one of them, please let us know. You can unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you, or you can drop it in the chat. But now's a great time if we can answer any questions you have.
Tammy, how many
Yes.
folks usually apply to Leadership Greenville?
Great question. Prior to the pandemic, we would have anywhere, and again, every year would be different, anywhere from 80 to 100 for 60, 55 to 60 slots. So pretty much, 2 for every spot we had. In the last year with the pandemic, I am thrilled. We had, I believe, 60 applications for 35, which still means we're almost 2 applications to what we accept. So it is a very competitive process. Even
Thank
in
you.
a great question.
Tammy, we have some questions in the chat as well.
Okay. Let me stop sharing my screen and so because I can't see them. Here we go. All right. If you apply and are not accepted, can you apply again the next year? Absolutely. If you apply and you don't get accepted, my suggestion is you go through Opportunity Greenville in the fall, our 101 version, and kind of get your feet wet a little bit, and then apply again this time next year. Absolutely. Can you give us an example of past community service projects? Yes. And Dean, do you remember y'all's projects?
Yeah, we actually did a new dining room space for Generations. They're a kind of a nonprofit that focuses on sexual abuse, male,
Mhm.
kind of not victims, but victims and kind of assault people that have been charged of sexual harassment or something like that.
And Emerald, what project were you on? While she's getting off, Clinton, what project are you working on this year?
We're working with West Greenville School on our gardening project for the kids. It's a community garden. And when I tell you it is one of the most fulfilling things just to know about the project. Now, granted, most of the guys and other team members are doing more work on the project. You feel like somebody's doing more work, but when the rubber meets the road, you get to participate in the hands-on of that project. So we will be able, and I know Andrew is on this call as well, but we will be able to provide therapeutic engagement for the students of West Greenville. Also, there will be internship opportunities for some of the students in some of the work, back to work programs at the college, which is next door, Greenville Technical College. And these children, they have their needs, but they also have the right to be treated as children and to live as children and to be human. And for them to be able to go out and plant in those gardens, to harvest, to have chickens and build relationships and understand things like that is just going to be phenomenal. So I have to tell you, if you want to know what you really want to do in the community and your place and know how you can give back, become a part of that. And just no matter what level you give, you have committed yourself and you have donated to something that is going to last for years in the lives of others. So Andrew is on here and he can give you a lot more background than I would think on that.
I mean, you nailed it, everything right on the head. And to kind of piggyback what you just said, Clinton, it perfectly about how you're leaving like a legacy for folks. I've been with the Greenville Chamber for 3 years. I work as the programs manager here with Tammy. And I've talked to people as part of my job. And I met a gentleman a couple of years ago, and he was with class 4 back 42 years ago. And his class, they were the ones who put the trees downtown Main Street. So, I mean, this legacy projects, just putting your staple into the footprint of Greenville goes all the way back. Since I've worked with Tammy, I've seen folks who have redone Project Host Soup Kitchen, mural wall sign. Happy Hooves is a great program for children who need some after school programs and just additional help for functioning and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of great things that have been done just through this program. So I'll just leave it at that.
And I want to focus one more thing for a moment. And our children there at West Greenville, they have experienced trauma. They've lost parents. They're on the autism spectrum. They have various disabilities, which are now their abilities. And they are learning culinary skills. And it's just a beautiful program. When I tell you, that is the cherry on the sundae for Leadership Greenville for me. It really is.
Thank you. Emerald, I saw you connect a second ago. Which project did you have?
Hey everyone. So the project that me and my team worked on was the Tanglewood Middle School. And what we were doing is we were doing and are still
Yeah.
doing. So our project was a little bit different, although leadership, our classes ended, it truly never ends in more ways than one. We are still working on building a trail. So the school shut down when the pandemic happened. And so our project kind of got put on hold. We are actually going to be holding a groundbreaking event coming up soon to start the trail. But we kept working behind the scenes and meeting and kind of making sure that everything was aligned. So what it is when you look out on White Horse Road, that's a very disconnected area. We have the Swamp Rabbit Trail in Greenville, and there's a lot of communities that are connected to that and the Reedy River. And so there's a lot of pride in that. And I think we should all take pride in that. But then you have to look at these communities that aren't connected to that and don't have those opportunities to have these safe spaces and healthy opportunities in their lives. So with that trail, we're basically building a 1 mile, just under a 1 mile trail around the school. So not only that the school can take advantage of it, but that the communities surrounding the school can take advantage of it. Because again, it's kind of in a recreational desert, if you will. And so giving these kids an opportunity, this school does so many amazing things already. And so we're just kind of like the icing on the cake. And we feel very fortunate to be doing this soon. And so I'd say to all of you guys out there, the impacts that you can make, even just meeting some of the kids that we were fortunate enough to work with at Tanglewood, the kids are great. They want to be part of this stuff, whether it's kids or adults. One of our teams was working at Soteria, in which I don't know if you don't know about Soteria, please Google it, learn about it. It is such an important resource in our community. And so you're touching lives of people who truly need it. I mean, these people that come to Tammy, they have a very real and important and a pertinent need in the community. And so it's nice to be part of a team that really takes pride in that, wants to facilitate that, and not just kind of, oh, look what we did. Isn't it really nice? But that these create lasting relationships. And not only that, it demonstrates to not only kids and leaders and adults in the communities, how much their community and people care about them. So I think that's important. And then soon, Tammy, we're going to have our trail ready.
Yeah. You're not the only one. We strive to get our projects finished by May graduation or shortly after. Again,
Yep.
When you're doing outside or whatever, sometimes, nature gets in the way. In this case, pandemic got in the way and they were shut down and could not get access to the school. A few years ago, I think it was class 40. If you've been to the Greenville Zoo, and the aviary exhibit is a Leadership Greenville project. Well, that was the year that they had several, like the elephant pass away and several. So we had to shut that project down. So life happens, but we get it done. One thing I heard all three of our folks say is that it starts out maybe as a project, and which is the shiniest project I want to work on. It soon becomes, you realize these projects are about building community. Like there might be this walking trail will be on Tanglewood Middles, but the community will enjoy it. Same for Dean's and Clintonette's project. So it begins to not only transform the nonprofit that you serve, but the community that supports that nonprofit as well. Are there any other questions? Did I answer your question? Approximate idea of how much time you spend on those per month, and I will defer to them. And again, it's per project, and these are done outside the class day. Every once in a while, I can squeeze in a little time during a class day, like during lunch, where your project team can meet. But for the most part, your team will decide, okay, collectively, you'll say we're going to meet during our lunch hour or after work or whatever that is. It really depends on the project, but you want to start enrolls, there's a planning phase, a fundraising phase, and then the all boots on the ground phase.
Yeah, all hands on deck, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So for us, it looked a little bit differently in the beginning. Of course, you're going to invest more time up front. But then once you've determined basically who in your group is going to be, responsible for leading the after hours meetings, which was key for us. We all have stuff to do, right? We've all either worked or been taking care of kids or families or whatever that may be. So it was a little bit different in that we were, I don't want to say different. We were just extremely respectful and courteous of everyone's time. So in the beginning, we'd maybe meet an hour and a half every other week, and then it would taper off to once a month. And then we would have our subcommittees within our group, because our group had 20 people.
Mhm.
Like I said, our class had 60 and each project group had 20 people. So we would break up into smaller groups. We had our communications committee, our construction committee, our leadership committee. So we kind of broke up into our own groups, and we would just connect through group text messages or a quick phone call or a quick Teams or Zoom, whatever it was. But I mean, the true time commitment after hours, I think it's minimal for what you're
Mhm.
getting back. Again, maybe that's just me, but I think, expect 2 to 4 hours a month. In the beginning, it might be a little bit more, but it really is, how big is your project? What type of role are you taking in your project? Because you can make it as little or as much as you want it. You could spend 30 minutes a month on it. And again, what you put in is what you're going to get out.
Yep.
So I think if you're signing up to do this, just again, with pandemic, it looks a little bit different. So you'll be doing a little more of what we're doing now, which is through video. But if you have the opportunities to get together in a safe manner, then I definitely recommend that. But I think whatever time you're putting into it, you're getting it back in tenfold.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think
Clintonette, Dean, Dean. Go
yeah, I
ahead.
think we just echo that what Emerald just said. I mean, it just really depends on the project as well. Like my project included some renovations and drawings, and with my architecture background, I ended up having to put a little more time in to actually produce the drawings and actually get it permitted and all that stuff. But that all, it all just comes with depends on the project. So, but like I said, yeah, like Emerald said, you get as much as you put into it.
Well, and one other
Clintonette?
thing I'll
go
say
ahead,
is
Emerald.
that, sorry, Tammy.
That's
One
all
other
right.
thing that I'll say is, again, we had 3 project groups. So on the weekend, and I apologize, I cannot remember the third name of our project group, but they were renovating a youth center. And so
Pleasant
Pleasant
Valley
Retreat.
Connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Pleasant Valley Connection. So they were renovating their center. We had people from my team and from the Soteria team who went
Mhm.
out to help them on the weekend. They were painting and planning and installing stuff. And of course, there were also individuals from Pleasant Valley there. But I mean, so again, you get into it, what you get out of it, what you put in. And so connecting any way that you can with the other teams. I don't know how this
Yeah.
one's going to be structured, if it's going to be smaller and maybe 1 team or 2
Mhm.
teams. But we would go help out anytime we could, if we needed to do videos, if we needed to do manual labor, if we needed to come in one of their meetings and just share, like, what are you guys doing over here in your project? Because
Mhm.
we're running into some issues. So it was a very collaborative environment. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You can put in as much time as you want, truly. And I think if you get the chance to join and you get selected and you have multiple teams, then help out those other project teams, because there's so much of what they're doing. Again, it's about family here. That's what
Yeah.
that's my biggest takeaway. So if you can, jump in and help them.
Clintonette, you got anything to add? Because you're mid-project right now.
We're mid-project. Our cadence was a lot like Emerald's. And to Dean's point as well, we had to lean to our strengths. I'm newer to Greenville, right? So I had to lean to the strengths of those who were here, who would know people and who would know connections. But then you contribute other ways. If you have to make a donation of time, money, whatever your strengths are. So just deposit in. Don't let Leadership Greenville be your reason for coming is to get something out. Let it be a dual component that you're going to be able to deposit into this experience, and then you're going to definitely get something out automatic.
Thank you. Emerald brought up a great point. It's not uncommon at all, particularly when you get to the point in the projects where you really planting flowers or painting or whatever the project is. And a lot of them lend themselves to a more brick and mortar type feel a lot of times. You'd have families would bring their children to teach them the act of volunteerism and to get them involved. So it really is. And again, we see lots of times project teams, they're working on their own project, but they support each other as well. Do we have any other questions? I know I've got time, but I want to respect the time that we had dedicated here. Is there anything else that anybody has questions? And again, you can contact me at any time. I will put I think most of you know how to get me, but I'll put in my email. And I can't type and talk at the same time. If you have any questions later on, feel free to reach out. Last call for questions, anyone? All right, so applications are available on the chamber website. They are due April the 12th at 5 p.m. Remember, you cannot start the application, go out of it and come back in. So get the essays off. I think if I had to give you a couple of initial steps, number one, look at the dates on the application. Make sure you can be at that opening retreat if you're selected. Get those class dates kind of penciled in so you know that you've got it blocked off. Number two is get those essays off the application so that you've got them on a Word document and be working on that. Update your resume, and I would immediately send out some requests for your letters of recommendation or your supervisor letter. And again, there's no right format, just just a statement either from the supervisor end or your recommendation. I want to thank Andrew on our staff as always as part of this class and also making this Zoom session possible. I'd like to thank Dean Emerald and Clintonette for sharing their time with us, because again, it's one thing for me to tell you, it's another thing for you to hear from their words, both from someone who's 4 or 5 years out and someone who's currently in the class. And a big thanks to Bon Secours, because we're very fortunate that we have not only a sponsor who supports us in financial ways, but is a partner with us in every step of the way. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. And again, I look forward to seeing your applications come in, spread the word, and please let me know how I can help you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.